public committee meeting, Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026 to order.
Councilman Haddocks?
Present.
Councilman Barnes?
Present.
Councilman Dennis?
Present.
Councilwoman Faison?
Present.
Councilman Ogle?
Present.
Mayor Pelot?
Present. Would you please stand, silence your phones for the pledge by Councilman Ogle.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First thing is public comment period. Members of the audience have 3 minutes to make a statement or express a concern. Is anyone here to make a statement to the council? Wayne?
Okay, Wayne and Jean Malia, 107 Covington Street. I realize y'all have not presented the budget yet, but I do have a general comment for the budget, nothing specific to any line item. Is it okay to make my comment?
Sure.
Okay, I wasn't sure, okay.
Yeah.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. I have reviewed the proposed fiscal 2027 budget as posted on the downtown Madisonville website. As a CPA with over 40 years' experience, many years involved in governmental accounting and budgeting, I see the town's budget no different than those I was responsible for or my own personal budget. Given the concerns and unknowns I have heard expressed about our critical water and sewer systems, I would recommend that the fiscal year 2027 budget expenditures be limited to those projects that directly address those issues. Once those issues have been addressed, if there are additional funds available during fiscal year 2027, you have the discretion to vote on a budget amendment for other projects. The parish routinely amends its budget. Our quality of life depends on a solid infrastructure foundation. Thank you for considering my recommendation.
Thank you. Anyone, I do recognize Casey here, and actually, Casey, if you'll come up. Casey and I met this week, and he had brought a request to me, and I thought it would be good for him at this meeting just to at least address the council. So, Casey, I'll let you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, me and the mayor met earlier this week to discuss the Guard Rodeo, the Madisonville Guard Rodeo coming up at the end of July this year. We thought it'd be a good idea to meet with the council at the committee meeting before the actual council meeting for approval, just to kind of bounce some idea, kind of have with the mayor, just to advance and grow the rodeo. I think it'd be a major benefit to our organization and also to the town. And again, we can have this period if y'all want to think about it or had some ideas. We can go back to the drawing board before we come back to the council meeting. That's great too. We're thinking, if you've been to the rodeo the past 4 or 5 years, you notice it's outgrown the Lake Road. Parking, we need more and more parking every year. We also need more and more event space every year. So it's a struggle. When you're kind of maxed out at where you can go, what you can do. The proposed venue would be the ballpark right here in Madisonville. I know in the past we've kind of talked about it. The fish and the remains were the only kind of issue that, if we can do something with that, it would be a thought, maybe a more viable venue we can use for it. So, me and the mayor kind of talked about, again, I've drove down there 4 or 5 times. It'd be great. Not only be great for the venue, parking would be better. The venue size would increase dramatically to help us, grow the event and grow things we can do with the event. I know right now we can have so many sub-events in the event, other than the fishing rodeo, the jambalaya cook-off. Again, that's growing every year in popularity. I would like to get, a lot of you involved and people in town, minor celebrities, politicians involved as well. They like to grow that too while using the ballpark. We brought a beauty pageant in last year, a kids beauty pageant. Again, that's more pushing that family atmosphere, wanting to push this festival too. Again, that went great. We had, I don't know, 20 to 30 kids in it, different age groups. I mean, everybody had a good time. I've never put a pageant on before, so I guess it went good. You're gonna have nobody's gonna be happy. That's why I wanted to stay away from it, but as far as I could, you're gonna have that. But overall, we had success with it. The auctions, the raffles, all the different things we've had. We always try to do vendors. I think this would be a great addition to bring more vendors in. And again, that goes into the festival part of it. We're trying to kind of push more than a rodeo. I guess the last few years it has become more of a rodeo and festival, I guess. And we don't want to hide it from the world anymore. I think we've came a long way with it. I don't want to say perfected it, but I think made it a lot more of a family friendly festival. So, and again, we don't want to hide it from the world. That's one thing we hear every year. We have it down there kind of hidden. I like the venue. I wish it was 3 times bigger than it is. But parking's an issue. You hear so many people the next week say they tried to make it down there, they couldn't find a spot, they didn't want to park a mile, they turned around and went back. Space is an issue. People get down there, they kind of get crammed. It happens, I understand, and we can only do so much with the space we have. We've shifted a few times and made it work, but again, I think it's time, with this being the 50th year, the 50th anniversary, we have a lot of things we want to incorporate. And again, we don't want to hide it from the world. We want to bring back past winners. We want to bring back past people that put on the rodeo and really give that acknowledgement, and that thank you to these people. Being 50 years, I think this would be the year, if we were going to grow, this would be the year to do it. So, for the fish, what me and the mayor talked about, I've kind of had this idea for years of that Yankee Street that runs behind the old equipment shed. I don't know if that's a heavily trafficked street. We were going to do a drive-through weigh-in. So again, we'll have a scale there where they can drive through in the boat. We can pick them out the boat, weigh them there, drop them back in the boat, and you have to leave. No gar will touch the ground, no fish will touch the ground, no fish will be saved. And then it's at the owner's priority to get rid of the fish.
So, I'm sorry. That road was actually what I was going to ask the chief about as well, because we have issues sometimes when the park gets busy. The neighbors will complain that there's not ample space for people to come. So nobody be parked over there. It'd be more like moving. They're coming in, they're weighing, and they're leaving, correct?
Yeah, so we can go either way, and me and Gene kind of talked, if we just wanted to block off that front half of the street and just have it just for in and out. If we can't block off the street, I don't know how many houses use that road, if there's any frontage there, but even if we have to leave half open just for a pass by,
That back half closer to Pine is just the 2 houses on the end. The one on the corner right there on Main, they have access in the front on Main Street. So it's really just the 2 on that back half that you'd be.
yeah, and I didn't know if it'd be a big inconvenience for them not to make the block to come through Pine Street rather than Main Street, but. Okay.
Yeah, both Pine and Main Street would be left open. And the idea of just the Yankee area, there'd be no parking on that street at all.
That's the big thing.
The scales would just, from what we've discussed, the scales would be up. They're wide enough that the boat, the vehicle and the boat could drive through the scale, weigh the fish, take pictures in the boat with the fish on the scale, and
They never touch the ground.
Never touch the ground.
You
So
can put the scale more towards the Main Street side, so that it's not,
That's what we were discussing.
so that it'd be 2 people in the driveways on.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying. If our 2 houses down there, all we need is to, from the concession stand to the stage.
and
a little
again,
spot.
yeah, there'd be no fish left on site. All the fish would be hauled off after weighed, correct?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, nothing would stay.
And he's also going to limit the hours on the weigh-ins so that it's not an all-night thing. Yeah, so There's a lot of thought that he had put into it, and certainly, it was attractive to me, that he could, really showcase the event. It's the 50th year. He's done a wonderful job with it. And I told Casey, you know, it's a trial. It's a one-year trial. We'll see how it goes. And certainly, if it doesn't work out, if there's complaints, if there's problems, we have no obligation to move forward next year.
Parking by the library, right?
Yeah, there's parking on both sides. I mean, the ballpark side, the library side, I mean, the street side. I mean, it's a lot more than we have down there. Down there, I mean, you have to really, and we've never done it before. We never had the volunteers or the manpower to park everybody in a row, you know, and all it takes is 3 or 4 boat trailers to park, and they would have your parking lot, you know, so, that's always, and again, you don't want to tell them they can't park their boats and they're paying for a permit either, so, I don't understand that. Again, from what it saves us, is kind of what I was mainly hitting at, is not more that we could bring in more revenue to the rodeo to donate back to the town and different things you're doing. Again, we did donate a sign for the bronze sign for the graveyard, that's away for town. We did the Christmas tree lighting, we love doing that. And that's just with, you know, the money we generate, you know, down there. But I think if we open it up, just some of the little numbers I'm just looking at, I mean, having the stage alone saves me $3,000. Having the pavilion saves me $2,000 or $3,000 in tents. Having the kids' playground, the splash pad saves me so much in different kids' activities too. I mean, you know, the walking trail around, it opens us up to having vendors there, which, again, that drives revenue. It also drives, you know, more things to be accessible to do at the event too. So, it also takes away the need for a headquarters and a camper and all that. By having the concession stands, you can sell shirts and your merchandise and your food out of there. So, again, that's kind of the idea. You know, I'm going to run by this year. I want to kind of get it early, just in case it is approved or not approved. We can still be on pace. You know, I just think.
Well, one of the challenges that we were always dealing with is sooner or later there's going to be a time when the event's planned that weekend, it's advertised, sponsors have donated, and the water, you get high water and you can't get to it, and it's over with.
That was my next word, yeah.
So,
Bands paid for, everybody's set up, you know, you're $50,000 in the hole, and boom, water comes up, road's closed.
are we talking about the basketball park or the park?
The park, the big park.
Okay, I was confused with the concession
Yeah.
stand, that kind of threw me off, because I was like, where's the concession, you mean,
A little small up in the corner, and I got the one by the pavilion.
Everyone still refers to it as the ballpark.
I think of it as bathrooms, I don't know. Okay,
Well, that's it too, I know the bathrooms cost me $2,400,
Yeah.
so there you go, 4 bathrooms.
okay.
Yeah.
That
Mayor,
sounds great.
Casey, council, I think one thing we know is we moved this thing here this year. There's going to be something that's going to pop up, right? And I think the comforting part, at least for me, is what we've noticed with you running this thing. When things pop up, you always address those items for the following year. So I think it's a great idea. It sounds like you're already well down the path of working out any potential issues. And I think he's proven himself. This is an amazing event he puts on. He's very detailed, and when there has been issues, he always makes sure that they're addressed. So, yeah, I'd like to see it moved. I know I'm in support.
And keep in mind, there's no vote tonight. I told Casey there's no vote. So he's going to, you know, his request is going to come at next month's meeting. But he's got to get advertisements out, so he's got to put a location there. He doesn't need, you know, so in between now and the regular council meeting, the second Wednesday of next month, Casey, please come back.
Definitely.
And then a decision can be made, but no
Yeah,
decision.
that's why today, I just want to see if y'all did have any concerns, we can rectify that before the council meeting. We can
I
get you your
think
answers.
it's great. If you raise more money for charities, I think you do an admirable job. I think it's great. If we can help you make it bigger and raise more money for charities, that can't be a bad thing.
Well, Casey, you've proven for the past 5-6 years, anything that pops up, you take care of it. You've grown the event. I'll fish it every year, be fishing it again this year. And I commend you for it. I'm all for it. It'd be a perfect venue.
All
Any other questions? No, no. Thank you very much for coming tonight.
See you next month. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Nancy, appreciate it.
Anyone else to speak to the council? Seeing no one, we'll move
Mr.
into...
Mayor, I have a request, if people wouldn't mind. On the agenda, I've got Rebecca Ziegler with USG Water Solutions. She volunteered to come here all the way from Ruston or Monroe. Would anyone have an objection on letting her speak first? So if she doesn't want to sit around and listen to the budget discussion, she doesn't have to.
Sure. Yeah, come on up.
Just to let everybody know how Rebecca ended up being here, we've been trying to get some idea of what the town would be getting into with the maintenance cost of an elevated water tank. And so I visited with the Covington Water Department director, and they actually gave me a tour of their facility, and they said that they use your company and have been happy with the services. But a while back, we had talked about, both Tim, he's at the opposite end of the stage here, he and I had observed a water tank in Metairie, it's right at Causeway and I-10, that had to be repainted and had to be covered, and it looked like it was probably expensive. And so, we've been given some idea of what a water tank costs, but we're kind of in the dark right now on what it would cost to maintain moving forward.
For sure. So I did bring y'all just some documents, and I'll pass those out in a little bit.
Please, just so that everyone knows and also the cameras know, state your name and your company, please.
Rebecca Ziegler, USG Water.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So I was just going to kind of come by and introduce myself and kind of give you a rundown on, we do maintenance on tanks. So we do not erect any new tanks, but we do maintain about 5,000 tanks right now nationwide, several in the state of Louisiana. And I had spoken with Mr. Lewis about kind of the difference between ground storage versus elevated. What that looks like is typically we do annual fees for tanks to be on our asset management. There are 3 options. You can be on an asset management, which is a full maintenance plan, which covers annual inspections, any type that we need, anytime we need to make any sort of repairs or maintenance on that tank, we take care of that. All of your future maintenance is taken care of, interior and exterior. We make sure that we take care of the coatings, condition, structure, security, and soundness of the tank. That includes an annual fee for your maintenance program that is evergreen, and so that just means that renews every year. And so we typically, coastal towns, we're painting them more frequently, but every time they're repainted, your fees are just going to go up 3% a year for inflation. We don't reevaluate those. You also have the option of a contract for service, and so what that looks like is we establish a game plan. We say for 3 years we're going to do X, Y, Z. We'll reconvene at the end of those 3 years and do another price conversation with you to what do you want to do in the next 3 years. We have that game plan, or we can do kind of standalone renovations when they're needed. As far as the difference between your ground storage versus your elevated, of course, it depends on what type of tank you go with. On the elevated, it's cheaper to maintain something that is not multi-leg. So if you have a pedosphere tank where it's just kind of looks like a golf ball on a tee, that's cheaper to maintain than one that's going to have 4, 5, 6, 8 legs on the tank. The benefits of the elevated are that when you lose power from weather issues, or primarily weather issues, or when you're going to lose your power, you're not going to have to worry about the generator getting that booster pump to make sure that you maintain water pressure from a ground storage tank. So it keeps the water pressure just because of gravity, and so that's kind of a pretty good benefit. Plus you have the benefit of that being kind of the hood ornament of your town, and you can design it with whatever logo you'd like. If you want to change that logo, that becomes expensive. There's a fee with that. But if you establish it at the front and say, we want it to look like a hot air balloon or whatever, that's what we maintain. And so every time we recoat it, we're coming back in with that same design. For your ground storage versus your elevated, it's about a 20% difference in price on if it's a pedosphere. Again, it just kind of depends on the type of tank. It's more expensive, again, with the multi-leg, but you're probably looking at, if you were to do a 200,000 gallon tank, if you were to do a ground storage tank that was welded steel, we don't maintain bolted tanks because they're just not designed to last as long as your welded tanks are. They have thousands of leak points in them by design, or a glass line. Yes, sir.
20%, the elevated tank is 20% more.
Yes, sir. And so what that typically looks like, if you were to do a ground storage welded tank that was about 200,000 gallons, you're going to be looking at probably around 11,000 a year to maintain that tank versus 13-ish on a petosphere tank of the same size. It just really depends on what tank you go with. When you erect a tank, you have a 1-year warranty on that tank. So I tell my customers, get your 1 year out, let us come in at around 8-9 months and do a tank inspection on that tank, because we're going to get on their climate, see if we see any issues. That way we can tell you to go to that original contractor and get those issues repaired under that warranty. And then we like to start kind of on that 1 year mark, or whenever your fiscal year starts over, and kind of get those on that evergreen contract. Especially with a tank that is newly renovated, that is when it is the cheapest. We're not having to come in and get these tanks up to code. They are at code. Everything's great. This evergreen contract can be canceled at any year by you guys. You just have to do that in writing within 90 days of the renewal. You do have a lifetime warranty of that tank while it's on the maintenance program. Any questions on so far?
So in the full maintenance contract, what is not covered?
What is not covered would be containment, if we have to contain the tank for like lead purposes for recoating it. The main reason for that is the technology just keeps changing. Right now, we even have robo blasters. So I tell everyone it's kind of like a rainbow for the tank. It blasts it and gets rid of the debris without you having to put up the big tents and everything. If we are painting that tank, in the traditional sense, we are going to be containing the tank for the paint purposes, but we're mainly concerned about the blasting. So blasting containment, you need that about every 40 years. So it's
When you
something.
say containment, you mean the actual netting?
The
so you
big
can do
TP.
your work. That was the only thing not covered.
Correct. And if an act of God is not covered, that would be under your insurance. If we need to come in and the state changes regulations and we need to add something onto the tank, that's not covered. That's just, you get a discount because you're a maintenance program.
Is there any kind of obsolescence or anything like that we need to deal with in any of this technology?
Not really. What do you mean?
I just know a lot of maintenance contracts, if something becomes obsolete, within the owner's 100% responsible. I don't know.
That's not-
know your
that's
industry,
not-
so I'm trying to figure it out.
Yes, that's not really with your water tanks. There's not a whole lot of technology there. So that's not really been an issue.
So this contract, this evergreen contract, 40 years, the paint job is expected to last?
No. You don't blast them every time you paint them. You blast them if the paint becomes too thick on the exterior. On the interior, we're blasting them every time we're painting them. We're getting it back to bare metal. I'm just referring to on that containment, if the paint is too thick or if there's a major failure on the coating. If it's been 40 years, 50 years, 60 years on some of these tanks where there's more rust. But we're painting tanks every 5 to 10 years in coastal areas and just keeping them up.
And that's part of this contract, or there's additional?
That's part of the contract.
Okay.
Would we fall under the coastal contract?
You would, with the proximity to the water, but I mean, it's just going to be a more frequent renovation on that. Every year, we're going to do a visual inspection. We're going to climb the tank. We're going to look at what's going on, and every other year, we're going to do a washout inspection. So what that does is, it gives you bonus points on the state water grade right now to have your tanks under asset management. And then also, if you are depreciating these tanks like you typically would with a municipality, if they are on a maintenance program, there's an accounting principle called GASB 34. We can work with you to develop that, and then you no longer have to depreciate those assets in the same way. They don't have to depreciate because they're being maintained. And that would be something that I could walk you through at that point. It's just paperwork.
In your experience, how many municipalities choose a ground tank over a water tower, just roughly?
It just depends on the funds. It's probably about half and half for across the state.
If funds aren't the issue, is there an advantage to the elevated water tank?
The advantage is going to be that you're going to maintain your water pressure. You're going to, it's a good icon for the city. You're not going to be having to worry about when you lose power, keeping those generators going to keep the booster pumps and everything maintained. I wouldn't know specifically, but I would double check with the engineer on what that does to your fire rating with it having a constant source. And so that typically improves it.
When you,
What was that annual price on the?
It's roughly for the elevated about 12 to 13 in that ballpark. If it's a 200,000 gallon pedosphere, again, I could get you exact information once we know what tank you're going with and how many legs and capacity.
Was there not bigger than that we were looking at?
the one that I got from Covington was, they have two tanks. One was 150,000 gallons, and it's got multiple legs on it, and it's an older tank. And they told us they're paying about $17,000 a year. The other one, I think, is a 400,000 gallon, and they were paying about $25,000 or $26,000 a year. But ours would likely be somewhere between those two, I'm guessing.
Yes, and the newer the tank, the cheaper it is to put on the maintenance program.
There's something you mentioned, because one of the other things that we're looking at here as we make some investments in our water system is what effect it's going to have on water rates. And there is a line item that has to be included in the calculations for depreciation. So when you mentioned the depreciation, the maintenance program could potentially have us in a position where we wouldn't have to count any of the depreciation?
On that tank, that's correct. So we'll come in and it's usually a 3-meeting process that the state requires, and you present it, vote on it, approve it. But we'll get a level of 1 to 10 grading scale established for your specific tank, and maintain every year with your annual inspection. You're going to get what that score is. Your tank is going to start at a 10. It's going to get down to about a 5, and then it's going to get renovated, and it'll go back up to a 10. So we're just showing proof that that tank is never dropping below that 5, and then because of that, you can take advantage of the GASB 34, and there's a new GASB 103. Again, it's just accounting principles that keeps you from having to depreciate those tanks, which helps you look better for grants and funding and everything.
And when you mention recoding, that's recoding the inside and the outside.
That's correct.
That's basically the same schedule?
No, they're not typically on the same schedule. Typically, we're doing, with the coastal tank, we're doing the exterior more frequently than the interior. When we're more inland, it's the opposite typically, but we're checking them every year and just seeing what those coatings are doing. And so all you would know at that point is, hey, we're going to have to take this tank out of service to renovate it. But it's not going to be any changes to your contracts or anything.
How long is it out of service?
We can typically, if we're doing a full renovation on a tank, that's a couple of weeks typically, depending on weather. If we have some big weather event, we have to make sure that the dew point and the temperature and everything is good for it to cure.
So we have to take in consideration for future growth in the town. Like Highway 22 West has quite a few acres out there to build on. So we get one shot at building this tower. So I think it would be prudent of us to build it maybe at 260,000 maybe. Because once you build a 200, you can't add to it.
Right.
So.
What were we talking about 300?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, once we reconsidered that space down there, we were like, we probably need to go bigger on the higher end, even higher than what we thought initially. What are the rate changes based on those sizes?
Just basically the size of it, just to know the square footage we're covering for the coding application. But it's not very,
It's nominal, okay.
yeah.
Well, you had said that a 200 was 11,000 per year for ground, 13,000. So is a 300,000?
Probably 15, probably, yes, sir. And again, I could give you, whenever we know exactly what the tank is. Right. I can give you 10 years, though. I can say, I can give you 20 years if you want to know what those fees are going to look like. So but typically our contracts come and here's a 10-year schedule. That does not mean it's a 10-year contract. If you cancel it on year 1, it's canceled. Always make that clear. If you do get on the contract, again, this would be something we'll talk about later too, but your first payment's due at 90 days of the sign of the contract, and the second one is due on the anniversary. So that, I always tell everybody, make sure you're doing it kind of at your fiscal year. That way you're not paying twice in one fiscal budget. That's, again,
So Rebecca, in your professional opinion, would you say the elevated tank is far superior than the ground level tank?
I mean, I would, just with what it provides you, if you're going to be having any weather issues or any outages in the state, we do that all the time.
We have both. We're in the south. We have hurricanes. You have hurricanes up there.
We do, actually.
They come through us to you and then to you.
Yes. And the ice storms.
We were presented, we don't know how much assistance we're going to get on this project yet. We've been turned down for one request that would have covered the whole cost with a forgivable loan. But we were presented with some information that suggested that a ground storage tank might cost less than half of an elevated tank to
Right.
build. So that's really where the question came up, on one versus the other. But one of the things that you had mentioned to me was a service you offer with pipelining. So we're having a water issue in town, and the prevailing theory right now is it's related to our old asbestos cement pipes with manganese collecting somewhere in the pipe. So could you explain what that other service is?
Yes, so we have a spray-in-place pipelining application if the pipe is a minimum of 4 inches in diameter. We go through and you turn the valves off, and we actually dredge those pipelines out and clean them up, and we run a camera through it and see where their areas of concern are, and we come back through and we have 100% solids coating that we apply. The way that it applies does not actually block off your taps, so you're not having to come back in and re-tap those water lines. You're able to, after a 24-hour cure, get that back in service. That can go up to 500 feet per stretch with one bend of 90 degrees. If it has more than that, we need to dig back down into it and access it again on the other side. But what that does is it reinforces the strength of the pipe. It's to level 4, which again may not mean anything to you, but it makes it much more, much stronger, and it seals up any of your small pinholes, leaks, cracks, and just reinforces the integrity of that pipe without you having to dig up the full line and replace it. It's especially helpful whenever we're looking at anything like in a historic area, or if there's railroads or permitting, anything in that, because it's not cheap, but it is, and it can be cheaper than replacing the full service.
We've recently done something similar with our sewer system. What is the cost per foot on that in general?
I don't know, to be honest with you, on it just depends on the size and what we're having to put into place.
Well, we're looking
to
at
get it set
6
up.
inch, and what was it, how many, 1,000? 3,000 feet.
Okay, I can find out and send you an email and just kind of, this is what that should look like.
How much extra life do you get out of that, a service like that? I mean,
It's making it like new again. And I'll find out on if they have a life expectancy on that, because it is a solid coating and it's stronger than your PVC pipe.
that's something that can go over the asbestos cement piping?
Within it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I know, yeah, inside of it, but like, yeah, okay,
Yes,
thank you.
Yes.
So how much diameter does it eat up? Does it fill up?
It does not, it's very minimal, like it's maybe 1/8 of an inch. So it's something that is able to adhere and coat in a way that it does not have to be incredibly thick. And because of the way that it's cleaned, it's actually making that water flow even better than it was with your larger pipe. So a lot of times when people are doing this, they're seeing an improved water flow and water pressure.
On your maintenance contracts, outside of the annual inspections, what all do y'all do throughout the year?
So whenever we're there, we're checking to see if there's any issues going on with the tank. So if we're needing to upgrade the screen sizes on any of your vents or any of your overflow ports, we're taking care of that. We're swapping out any of the gaskets. Any maintenance we're needing to do while we're on the tank, we're typically getting that scheduled, or they're handling it while they're there.
So do you all handle 100% of the tank? Our maintenance department does not even need to step ground.
They just need to mow it.
I'm sorry, just mow the grass?
Yeah.
We're good at that.
Yeah.
Your contract also, how long is, it's a minimum of 1 year, I'm assuming?
Right.
Right, and up to how long?
It's up to indefinite. It's just an evergreen contract that just,
It's a set 3% annual price adjustment?
yes,
Effective on the renewal date?
yes.
Flat, no questions asked?
Correct. Our oldest contract's from 85, so we're at 41 years so far.
Earlier when we talked about you spraying, you got to put the nets around it, how you referred to it, the filtering.
The containment system.
Containment system. What is something like that on average cost?
If we're having to blast the tank and do that, that can run you $150,000 to $200,000. But again, that's something we're going to come to you and say about 5 years out, we're going to get to that point where we need to do that. We are able to fund projects because we own, we have our permitting, our engineering, our contractors, everything is, we own it all. And so we're actually able, if there's systems who need funding, we can do a no-interest cost spread on big projects like that.
So everything's handled in-house?
Yes, sir. So we do all the permitting, everything.
What can go wrong in a tank that you would have to fix annually?
You can have, if your coating is failing, you need to patch that while you're there before it becomes a major issue. You can have issues with your gaskets, with the vent screens. If somebody shoots it, we come in and we repair that. If they put graffiti on it, we repair that.
Wait, you cover 100% of misuse and abuse?
As long as it's, yes, as long as you're not intentionally, as a system, doing this.
Well, I would think that anyone that does graffiti is going to be intentional.
I meant as like the town. Like if there's graffiti, we will come and repaint that. If it is obscene graffiti you don't want kids seeing, that's considered emergency repair, and we're out within 36 hours to get that covered.
That's 100% covered.
Yes,
Because
sir.
the phone calls all it cost us.
Yep.
All right, someone does a bad aim, shoots a deer, and gets our bullet through our tank instead of you coming out to fix that.
That's on us. Yep.
Really?
Really. We've had it happen. There's a tank in Arkansas that has a picture of Johnny Cash on it, and they like to paint it or hit it right where his silhouette looks like he's using the restroom from the tank. Yes. So, yes, sir. Okay.
All right, so do we opt in the beginning, we want to sign up for 1 year, 5, 10, 30?
You can do an evergreen where it's just, if you want to do a full maintenance, you don't have to give me a timeline on that. I'll come to you, and it's assumed it's going to last 10 years. That's what I'm going to give you the price on. But again, if you cancel at any point, you just cancel it on that year. If you wanted,
Are there any penalties for canceling?
only if we were doing a tank that needed an upfront renovation, but you're having a brand new tank, you're not going to see that. So if we had to come in and there was a tank that we needed to redo from the beginning, and you canceled within those 3-4 years of where we did that cost spread, then that would be due. But that's not the case with the new tank.
A minute ago, you said that of that 11,000, 13,000, the cost for doing that, painting is included in that.
Yes, sir. All of your future projects are included in that. And that's the beauty of it. That's where you see the cost savings. Because if you're getting an inspection for $13,000, you're like, that's not, but you're not. You're building up to your next renovation.
Because what did you just say the cost of painting it was?
Oh, the cost of repainting it,
If we didn't have a contract.
if you didn't have to do the containment and you were just recoating it, you're probably on that size tank looking at $350,000-ish.
So this is $13,000 a year, right?
And we can do annual, monthly, quarterly, whatever kind of
So
setup
it
you need.
sounds like in many ways we're buying a 10-year insurance policy.
Pretty much. But if we're recoating it more than that, I mean, I've had tanks that have had to need another coating in 4 years because of the conditions, and we just did that. And they stayed on their same trajectory.
So year to year, do the TNCs of the contract change? So if we opt for 5 years, and year 6, we want to renew, is there potential for there's then a potential for
Yes,
changes in
if you do
language,
that
right?
type of contract, because that's a contract for service, so that does not give you the full coverage as a maintenance program. And I have it spelled out for you here, and you would just kind of negotiate exactly what you wanted to be maintained and what covered in those 5 years, and then you would reevaluate it at that point.
Yeah, I guess what stands out to me the most is this issue of being able to avoid the depreciation? Because we're talking about a $3 million project. Even if they depreciated that over 100 years, and the water tanks are supposed to last 100 years or more, that's $30,000 a year just right there that would be calculated in our water system evaluation.
And they're only lasting like that if you're maintaining the coatings. I mean, they are still holding water with air. That is all you need for corrosion. And so the whole point of the coating maintenance that is what needs to corrode. We want to make sure that it's the coating that's taking the beating, not the steel. That way you get the full life of that.
Look, I thank you for coming. We've been trying to get an answer from our engineers on this, and they haven't really given us a straight answer. Maybe I don't know, but then they wanted to charge us $350 an hour to find an answer. You're not charging us for being here. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, real quickly, just to understand, if no one shoots the tank, no one sprays it, how often will we see you guys?
Once a year.
And you drove in from where?
From West Monroe.
Highway 27?
I can't, but today? No, I don't think so. I can mainly
That's
interstate.
a 4-hour haul, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
That's a long way to drive to come here and present this information. It really means a lot. Thank you so much.
No problem. And I'll give you all these, and that way you can just review it, and it kind of just covers all of it. We also, and I will tell you, we operate with ISO 9001 certification. What that means for you is that we operate under the strictest guidelines, and we're going to keep, even though places are insured, you still don't want to be in the newspaper with something happening at one of your sites. So you don't have to worry about that with us. But anyway, I'll pass these out to y'all.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having me.
Have a safe trip home.
Thank you.
Next thing on the agenda, Finance Committee. Committee members, Councilman Bounds, Councilman Haddocks. First thing under Finance is the proposed FY 2027 budget. The budget's been submitted to you, the proposed budget. It is submitted with a combined budget, and also for the council, all of the fund balances and the funds for you and your observation. Questions can be entertained. We do have with us tonight a finance clerk and also our town clerk to assist in any answers that I may need to some help with. So the floor is open for any comment.
The first question I'd just like to ask is, Wayne had come up and spoken earlier and said, hey, look, we should be spending our money on the water system and sewer before we spend on anything else. So what's in this budget that would fall into the anything else category as far as expenses this month? And
I think you have it in front of you. It's in front of you. I mean, that was an individual comment, and we all heard it. So the budget's been presented to you.
so just looking at it myself, I see $1.5 million for Water Street, roads and parking.
Yes, where do you see that, Councilman?
And budget on page 3.
Yes,
So
that's under capital
outlay section.
Capital outlay,
Right.
that's capital outlay request. That request is made under capital outlay for $1,480,000, and that's under the income or the income, and also $1,480,000 in the expense. So there's no cost to the town for that request.
So if we don't get the $1.5 million, we don't do the work.
Correct.
Okay. And then, the other thing, I guess, it's on here that's kind of expensive is the Transportation Alternatives Program, which is the, as I see it, mostly sidewalk work along Covington Street.
And you see that under the grants program, is that correct? That grant for the construction is 95% in that grant, yes.
All right, so when do we anticipate hearing something on either one of those?
Either we're talking about the grant,
The grant and the capital outlay.
capital outlay we should hear by the time, the end of this legislative session should be over with by June, I would think, June, July. We should hear something on that, on the grant. We've actually received the grant. We submitted the resolution last month to the, for the grant funds. And it's, everything's been submitted on our side from the town, and we're just waiting whether or not we get the award. When that will come, not sure.
Okay, I want to just bring up a couple of issues related to that. When I talked to Travis with Piggly Wiggly today, and there's been a traffic issue with the CLECO changing out the poles. He told me that just over these 3 days, like Monday and Tuesday, he lost 30% of his revenue. Today, he's expecting to lose 50% of his revenue. And, you know, it's a grocery store. He has some items that are going to be fine, but he also has quite a few, you know, items there with an expiration date that may even go bad as he's waiting for customers to come back. But what we're looking at here, I'm assuming that work's going to be over in the next couple of days, maybe over today. I don't know. Anybody know that?
How long the work's going to last?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, they're taking 2 more poles right before the Main Street Mall. I think it's 2 of them out there. 2 of them out there, they're not sure, but then they, after that, they move into Rampart Street, between Rampart and, I'm sorry, between Rampart Street and Covington Street. They transferred one across the street from the school, after the school closed.
So another couple of days, maybe, or 3 days.
They open the place tomorrow, they're not sure. Talk to the head guy, see what will happen on that. Depends how fast they get over there. I didn't think it was,
Mr. Skinner? Again, would you comment?
Yeah, so we're just getting a little taste of, you know, what construction in that section looks like in terms of traffic for school, but also the disruption to the businesses. Something to take into account. If this project gets funded, are we going to have greater control over when the work happens, or is that going to be the state pretty much having full control?
No, the state has to approve the project once it's designed. But after that, no, we're going to have control over the contractor.
Is it possible for us to schedule this to be during the summer so we can avoid school traffic?
That can be spoken with the once the contract's accepted. I mean, we have to put it out for bid. It has to, it would have to, you know, we'd have to have a meeting with the contractor to request that, certainly.
At the end of the day, if we're driving the project, we determine ultimately what the specs are. We can tell them you can only work at night. You can only work between 12 and 3 in the afternoon. Those are items that are all detailed and laid out in the planning process and in the specifications. Then the GCs a bid accordingly, right? So yes, we have control over the projects that we do. And we, by doing that, of course, that impacts budgets, that impacts prices. Those are the things we got to look at, right? So it's, yeah, we drive that here when we put together the specs.
When it comes to town contracts, you're correct, Tim, we control that particular aspect. But when it comes to DOTD or CLECO, Entergy, and those guys, they're on their own contracts, and we're at their mercy, unfortunately. But in my experience from years ago, we had a store on Vulnerable Boulevard in Vex, and Jefferson Parish decided they were going to come in and dig up all the drainage. They took 2 of my entrances to my store, across the front and only had a rear entrance to get in and out. And unfortunately, like over at the Pig, it affected our business. But this is, sadly to say, it's nothing new. It goes on still today. But
Well, that's Travis told me today. He goes, I guess if it means I may not be out of power next time we have a storm, I guess. But he wasn't disturbed about it. But
with good reason, he needs it. I mean, I feel bad for him. I really do. I know what he's fighting. He's got payroll to meet and inventory to control. And when things like this come on board, we can't do anything about it. We can complain to him, but Clico's not going to stop that job.
No, but I think that it's worth us discussing in the early phases what we want to see when we do have control, right? I want us to do a better job than what was done this week.
Talking about, sure.
Correct, yeah.
But when it comes to DOTD and all those guys, they're not going to come knocking on our door and say, hey, we're going to tear up your town for a week.
Well, Clico actually came to the town and made us aware that they were going to be doing it. They were, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, but there's nothing, I mean, the poles were going to be changed. They needed to be changed, and they were going to be changed. So, I mean, again, it has nothing to do with this contract this grant that's requested.
What's the plan for seeking input from the businesses and residents, like Wayne lives right on this project? What's the plan for seeking their input in the design and the scheduling and things like that?
There's going to be a public meeting.
Wait, I'm sorry.
How did we get off the budget? I think we need to get back to the budget.
Yeah, that's going to be a public meeting when this is, before this is.
$1.5 million item in the budget.
Well, it's not $1.5 million. It's $1.25 million, but keep it.
$1,400,000.
Okay, stick to
$1,400,000 and whatever. And actually, when I talked to the,
No, it's not.
when I talked to the $1,480,000 is what it says in the line item.
It's $1,277,249.
I got you.
Okay.
Also, when I talked to the engineer originally, he had indicated to me that any drainage work that needed to be done wasn't included in this original project. And we know there's a drainage issue because we've got ground level businesses there, and Drew had come and, expressed to all of us his concern about what would happen to his businesses right there on the corner of Morgan and Covington. So is that going to be an additional cost that we're going to have?
No, because the work that's going to be done is going to be done at ground level. I mean, that's part of the meeting when we do have, we're not going to change the elevation of the sidewalks. We're replacing sidewalks. We're not changing elevation of sidewalks. We're not doing drainage work. There's no drainage work to be done there. Other than storm drain and storm waters, I mean, that's what gets in his business today. He doesn't have any drainage issues there that I know of.
Also, just looking at the project, there's 3 crosswalk striping and beacons in here. Do you know where those would be located?
No, it hadn't been designed yet. And there's going to be public meetings for the people's input.
Well, I guess my concern is that we're being asked to approve this in a budget before we see any layout or any plan or what we're actually approving.
Correct. You're accepting a 95% grant is what you're doing. And that's in the proposed budget. And that was voted on by the council now twice.
All right, another question here on the budget. Right on the first page, property taxes. We've got budgeted for this year $165,000, $180,000 for next year. But projected June 2026 is $246,000.
No, if you look at the combined budget for 2027 is $2,300,000. $50,000
I'm talking about just the property tax line.
on the property tax. You have
It's the second line on the combined.
$180,000.
What I'm asking is, why do we have projected $246,000 for this year?
Well, because the projection is actually on a, the actual is on a 9-month accumulation, and 95% of your taxes have already been paid at this point for your property taxes within the town of Madisonville. You won't receive $246,000. That's taking the same amount of money that's been collected, $185,000 divided by 9, and that's adding 3 more months of taxes to that.
Another question. So I asked to receive a spreadsheet or a printout of what salaries will look like next year compared to this year.
Yes,
Do we have that ready?
I do. I have it with me, yeah. And I plan to give it out to all of you, and I would just, the salaries are in the budget. The salaries and benefits are in the budget. That was already given to you. The individual salaries, if we're going to discuss individual salaries, I think it's unfair. I think if we're going to discuss individual salaries, we should do that in executive session myself.
Agreed.
Agreed, thank you. I was just getting ready to suggest that.
Now, if you're just going to discuss salaries in general, you can look at the budget and look at the expenditures, and you can see salaries based on administration, police, sales tax, gas, water, sewer, and garbage. And you can look at the totals for the year under each one of those funds for the entire budget. I mean, of salaries and benefits of $1,796,915 projected for next year.
The minimum increase is 5% with people already having received a 5% increase over the past year. So we have begun, when we started a year ago on the meeting, at least the median in the St. Tammany. So we're continuing to do that the way we've done it in the past year.
Yeah, let me just read something. We've had 3 police officers leave over the last few months. 1 retired, 2 had resigned. I went into one of them and at the gumbo cook-off, and he just expressed to me that the night that I had presented an option for us implementing a new pay scale, he said he was deflated from that. After he resigned, his wife made the comment, "You held out hope for so long for change and it never came. I've personally watched you become more and more discouraged over the last few years. I'm so proud of you for hanging on for so long to something you really do love." I think the employees, when they saw us spending thousands of dollars for a new pay scale, and they saw the council members who were on the council last term giving themselves a 64% raise, maybe some of them started to think that it was going to be their turn and that this pay scale would really be implemented. Some people got a 5% raise this year, some got more. We had 11 who got a 0 or a 2% pay increase.
Would you please look at that for next year?
I'm talking about this year. And you've got, everybody here is getting a 5 or maybe a couple with a 10% pay raise, but it's still not implementing the pay scale. I would say that a 5% pay increase is typically a cost of living adjustment plus 1 step for somebody who's been around for another year, which all the other municipalities are doing, and it still leaves us behind, if that's our approach, compared to what we got out of that salary study. So this is something I'm going to look at, and I would just ask my fellow members on the council to think about what it might feel like for an employee who's dealing with all the price increases and has been patient for many years. We just lost one police officer who's been here for 14 years and loved his job, and I read to you what his wife had to say. I don't want that to continue to happen with our employees. I think we owe them something more than what we have done so far.
Okay? Any other comments on the budget? I'll entertain any comment on the budget.
I'm just curious, no names were mentioned, but we had one retire, one change professions. What did the third one do?
He was a part-time policeman.
Right, he was tired of where he was told when he came here, 3 years ago? He would only come temporarily.
And it had nothing to do with his salary.
We had one change careers, what did he change to?
He's in management, security management. No, it's a good career move for him, right?
Yes.
He has a chance to better himself. Go for it. That's awesome.
Any questions on the budget? If there are no questions, should we move forward in the meeting? Operations and maintenance, Councilman Ogle, Councilman Dennis, flood prevention ordinance. The ordinance that's relating to is the ordinance that was introduced last month. And Chris and I received a letter this morning on your thought, which was very noticeably, it was a good question that you had. And Kenny Wortman, our building official, requested from Miss Angela Gill, who was with the floodplain management coordinator for DOTD, and she replied to him this morning. It came in email. It said, "My apologies for the delayed response. No clarity. The only amendment I requested was the inclusion of the severability clause. The section referenced below in the letter is intended solely as clarification and does not propose any changes to the ordinance." So it was only adding the severability. We introduced it with that severability clause included in it. And certainly, if there's no other questions, then what we'll do is certainly have a public meeting on that next month before the council meeting. But we did receive something back on an email this morning, Wednesday, April 22nd at 7:48 this morning. It was received. Any other questions on that ordinance? No?
Just what, red mark on the penalties too, did that change any?
I'm sorry, let me look.
What's the last page, 22-116?
Just the number changed.
Oh, yes. The severability actually was the number is 22-115, and that was the penalties but they wanted it inserted in the ordinance as in between two. So the penalties just went down to 116. That's the only change.
I guess that drew my attention to the section.
Yeah.
But then I looked at the penalty for violating it, $8, which is not much deterrence for something that's in.
Yeah, there was no change in that. No change that they recommended. And the severability was just something that they recommended that we insert into our ordinance. Any other questions? If none, move forward to Parks and Recreation Committee members, Councilman Haddix, Councilman Faison, Councilwoman Faison. Update on riverfront improvements. Either one of y'all want to make a general statement?
We just met this evening with the architect and got good news on parking. I feel like it was positive. We were given two options, neither of which lost any parking with the proposed changes. In fact, one, we gained 2 parking spots. So I felt like that was a really positive outcome for that phase of the project. And Brad is very eager for us to move to the next step.
The next step being him beginning the rest of his engineering or surveys to be able to lay out the land with the roots and some other issues before he can finish his drawings. But he said he could get us to the next step within a month. So we're very encouraged on what he's doing and what he's showing us, and yeah, I'm encouraged. I'm excited about it.
Well, I think what's a positive out of the whole project is that the safety will be improved for not just vehicle traffic, but pedestrian traffic as well. So I think it'll be a positive impact in that way.
I agree. No other comments? We'll move to Public Safety Committee members, Councilman Dennis, Councilman Bounds. There's nothing listed. Is there anything to discuss? Hearing nothing. Motion by Councilman Haddix to adjourn. Second by Councilman Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you very much.